Hey guys, it's Inky here, and I'm doing a digital sketchbook tour where I'm just going to show you a bunch of my drawings that I've done throughout the years. And I have a lot of drawings, so unfortunately, I won't be able to get to all of them, but I can try to get through them as quickly as possible. So, this is one of my earlier drawings that I can find. I think I did this in. Yes, I did this in 2021. The date modified is from 2024 though, because I actually transferred all my art from my old iPad to this one. And for this one, I wanted to do something more dynamic. I don't usually do a lot of dynamic poses, at least back then. So this is me trying to do something that was out of my comfort zone. And I actually really liked how the final result turned out. It was kind of just for a little bit of a funsy sort of thing. And with the same character, Mita, I wanted to do a bunch of her expressions. She's an expressive character that I have, so I wanted to try to play around with different emotions that she tends to showcase. So I did a lot of those, and my main focus was just to get the expressions. I didn't want to focus on coloring for these because I just wanted to get the shape done, and I wanted to try to get better at full body poses, at least for this one, because I felt like I was focusing too much on just the heads. So this was the result that it turned out. Again, these are some of the comics that I tend to do. They're pretty short. I don't usually make them very long, probably like 2 pages, if anything, max. This was the last piece that I made until I made a kind of an art improvement where I took a class from, I think it was class 101 from my memory. And this was what I started before I actually took this class. And this was the next piece that I actually did after I took the class. There's definitely a difference. I kind of don't do this style really much nowadays. It's kind of a combination of what I do today and what I learned back then. This was just some of the examples that it turned out. I wanted to have like textures on my drawings. So I was actually pretty happy with the final results of this one. This was another piece that I did. I really like working with the color yellow, at least for my character Mita, since her eyes tends to be yellow, so I give her a lot of yellow themes like golden jewelry, yellow accessories, yellow clothing, and I really like the contrast of the background being dark and desaturated compared to her bright colors. And here, this is where I started trying to experiment more with doing background pieces. So for this, I think I referenced a doll, and then I used a 3D model from Clip Studio, combined the two, tried to make it correctly perspective wise. And honestly, I really like how the colors turned out. I don't usually do a lot of dark settings with this sort of greenish lighting. And you can see here I'm trying to shade her clothing. And I still was trying to figure out how to really shade clothing. I still think I'm trying to figure out to this day. But overall, I think it turned out better than I actually thought it was going to turn out. Now this one is honestly still one of my favorites that I've done since today. I used this actually for my business card back in my college days when they wanted us to have business cards or make it for our class. And I'm just really into very glowy sort of backgrounds. I really like the bright color dodge, add sort of blending modes, and I tend to place them all over throughout the piece. This one's much more vibrant compared to what I do now. Alright, this was the era where I wanted to try to get better at drawing full bodies. So a lot of these drawings I'm going to have a lot of full bodies and work on both male and females because I wanted to improve in both drawing guys. Because I think it was getting to a point I still drew too many women at the time and I wanted to switch it up. So this is one of them. I really like the colors for this one. I think these are colors I usually don't use even today, and this was very experimental back then, and this one was much more of a neutral sort of colors, still using a lot of color dodge with a lot of my drawings back in this time. And this is me trying to do more, using more 3D models within my art pieces. Again, I think this was, actually I don't think this was Clip Studio. I think this was a photograph that I found on Google Maps. I was using it to just drop to random locations. This was a location I just dropped to and decided to use it as a background piece. And this one was using Clip Studio, so I did a combination of things where I got a 3D model of the bear, 3D model of the table and the couch, and drew the character just within the scene. I think the scene though was inspired by another BJD doll. I do like the expression that I did for Alice. I think it turned out really cute and pretty, and I'm still trying to get a similar look to this day. Again, another Alice piece. A lot of people actually confuse this drawing with another character. I literally think her name is Girlfriend from, I think it's called Funk Night Fridays or something like that. And when I looked it up, I actually started to see the similarities to it. And I got to a point where so many people just kept calling her the Girlfriend that I just ended up archiving this drawing, because I just kept getting nothing but comments about that game that I never even got a chance to play. And this is from 2022, so this is a year later. I try to work with more rendering style, at least like for my environment pieces. This was pretty experimental. I was just playing with a bunch of brushes at the time and seeing how I liked the result. But yeah, I just was just doing a little bit of a combination of back of the style that I was trying to do, where I tried rendering on top of it. This was a time where I was pretty experimental with my art. I just tried a bunch of new things, and this is just a little comic that I tend to do from time to time. An unfinished piece. I will never finish this, so don't ask. This was done in Clip Studio, and I used a 3D model for it from the Clip Studio store to make this, and I think the character was also 3D modeled as a reference, but I'm not sure if I don't really remember. It was a long time ago. Some more little comic-like things, more of my characters, more background pieces. I think this was another example of a Google Maps drop-in place, and I just used this as a reference. Lots of little comics, one of my favorite characters. Lots of Pinterest art references. Some more examples of little cute comics that I tend to do. If you want to read more of these, you can just check out my Instagram. I have all these on there. This is my profile probably for the longest time. I think this was made in 2023. So I've had this I've had this since 2022. So I've had a profile image for 2 years, which was a long time for me because I tend to switch up my profile images probably every couple of weeks. But this was the one I just wanted to stick with, at least for my art accounts. In this era, I was using a lot of photo references for them, because a lot of times I was using a lot of BJD dolls for references, or a lot of 3D models as references, but I wanted to switch up to try to imitate real life more, because I was told I would improve my skill if I tried to do more using photos as references, as opposed to just using 3D dolls and kind of too much of a clutch for them. So these are some of the examples that I had. I wanted to try to do something with a palette scheme with all of them. So these were the palettes that I just pretty much restrict myself into using. And a lot of people, probably this one is their favorite. And I really love the orangey color that comes out from her skin. I think she just looks like a very beautiful character. I just love her white wavy hair. It's a little difficult to draw for me, but at the same time, it's also really fun to draw. This is another piece that I did for my character Julie. So I wanted to try to portray more of her, I guess, her home life sort of vibe, where it's pretty bright, colorful. She likes lots of cutesy pink things. And I added a little Totoro thing in the corner to kind of showcase that she's a huge anime like fan. And I also added the little part where she has a little boba because she adores boba. I try to give the mood of like she's comfortable in her own home. She tends to laze around her own house. So I did a bunch of Inktober art in 2022. None of them are on theme for it from what I remember. I just kind of went around. I just went and did my own thing. And I think I only got like a 6 done. And these are some of my characters that I drew instead of just following a prompt. And I didn't actually finish making some of them, but I got, I guess you could say, a good bit for me at least. And these were just a quick little sketch that I did just for funsies, and an extra little Inktober that I wanted to add at least towards the end. I wanted to try to do more Inktober pieces, but I was getting burnt out in making them, so I ended up giving up pretty quickly. So some of these are actually just little quick comics that I did. I wanted to try to show more of my characters' personalities, and by doing so, I did things like this where I would do like a bunch of their like one character and kind of express their type of personality within one page just to get a vibe of what they are as a person. And I did that for a couple of my other characters. I did this for Lee, and these were honestly really fun to do. And these took a while for me to finish because I think at the time I didn't usually draw multiple characters or multiple of the same characters in the same page. I tend to just do one character at a time, but I was starting to get bored with only doing just one character, so I just did a collage of them in one page like this. Now this is one of my other more filled out background pieces. This is actually has to do with at least some symbolism within the quote unquote lore of my characters, where there's this one particular character that I have. You probably might recognize him from his hair and his smile, where it tends to watch each individual character because he has an interest in each of them, but for different reasons. And sometimes that can be either a good thing or a negative thing depending on who you are or which character it could be. And the error is opposed to, in a way, I guess, when people try to figure out who he is or what he is, they just don't get a result because no one can actually figure out what kind of person he is. And the here is the no exit. It's just my way of saying like there's really no way of escaping his grasp, basically. That you're pretty much stuck with this guy. You might start noticing with my art that I tend to do different things where I don't really stick to one sort of theme. So for these, he tends to be like very pretty, girly, feminine, pretty dresses. And then I would probably switch up to something more like darker theme like this, where it's pretty different from what I do. I do more like solid colors and then more neutral grays, but with that slight hint of color within each character because I don't want to make the entire piece too dark and desaturated. I want at least a little bit of color to pop. But this is another character that I have. I think I've only drawn him once, but he's supposed to be an antagonist, at least to one of my characters. He's definitely a bad person, and I don't usually draw villains, and I probably should draw him more, but I just haven't gotten a chance to really do that quite yet. Now, these are more examples of me drawing my characters and kind of trying to portray more of their personality within the art. So this is Ruth and her younger brother, Eddie. I like to make a little bit of a joke where he's absolutely tall as hell, and she's pretty tall, but compared to him, she's much shorter than him. And these are just little doodles that I did. Same thing here, more characters kind of showcasing their personality. One of my characters as a kid, and this is a comic that I did in the past. You can probably see the full comic in my Instagram if you really want to read it. For this drawing, I remember we were doing a kind of zine sort of thing where the theme was Alice in Wonderland, and actually I didn't choose Alice herself. I chose my character Alice as the Red Queen because I kind of thought it would be more fun to work with the reds instead of like Alice's in Wonderland's blue colors. And I kind of did a lot of the themes in Alice in Wonderland, and I really liked how it turned out. I really liked the background pieces that I did, and I think I did a pretty good job with at least the shading portion of this. So this was made around June of this year, and I really wanted to try to improve in my art style. So I tried different colors and experimenting with different lighting, and I really worked on doing a lot more environmental pieces like these, and they turned out better than what I expected because I was kind of worried that since I didn't do much background art that they would turn out pretty bad. And I had to look up a lot of references, ideas, and how to really draw environmental pieces. And I think they really did help out in the end. And I really upped my color palettes. I looked up videos on how to improve in color theory instead of just guessing in how to use colors. So I did a lot of characters with weapons, full body, lots of full body here, some more environmental pieces. We're pretty much getting closer to art that I've gotten to today. So these are much more recent pieces that I've done. I've been doing a combination of photos, 3D models for both characters and backgrounds. And I still think I have a lot to learn in trying to get better, but it's a journey that I've been enjoying, and I've been happy to share my art process in the meantime. So yeah, these are pretty much my art, and we're up to the most current art pieces that I've done throughout this year at least. I want to thank you guys for everyone that's been watching my videos, and we'll continue to keep drawing since you guys been enjoying them. I'll also keep making more talking videos, and I'll keep trying to get better at them. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye!